Hey guys, I'm still down in the beautiful Transkei. This is the wild coast of South Africa. Have a look at this view behind me. I have climbed the hill today and would like to show you an early morning view of what it looks like from up here. For many in our church and in our community, they will recognize some of these beautiful places. But we're now moving today into the book of 1 Samuel. It's a great book because after everything that has happened in the book of Judges and the debacle in the way that it ended, we now see God beginning to come with his plan to restore Israel to where he wanted it to be. And he begins with finding a leader. Remember, we said yesterday the devastation, the chaos from either following wrong leadership or having no leader at all. And so we see the beauty of God restoring Israel and God's plan coming together over here. Now I want to begin the story where it begins with a lady by the name of Hannah. Hannah was a desperate woman. She had no child. She was competing with another woman in her household who was bearing children to her husband, but she could not have kids. And so she goes to the temple and she's crying out to God, God, give me please what I desire. Give to me a child. God, do you remember me? My name is Hannah and I'm crying out to you to remember me by giving me a child. Now, the passion was so obvious. When the priest came to her and saw her crying out, he thought she was drunk and he thought she had had too much to drink. And he said to her, woman, what are you doing here in this condition? You shouldn't be here drunk like that and talking to God. She says, oh no, sir, I am not drunk. I am desperate. And so when she cries out to God, he hears. And then he said to her, he said, lady, by this time next year, God will have given you the desire of your heart and you will bear a child. She dedicated that child to God. His name was Samuel and the book is in his honor. Now, I want to suggest to you one thing. It's quite intriguing here. How often people cry out, God, remember me. It's an intriguing cry. It's a cry of desperation. It's a cry of deep seriousness. It's a heartfelt cry. God, you've given to other people. God, remember me. Now, it's not an unfamiliar cry. We see it a number of times in the scriptures, don't we? We see Nehemiah crying out 3 times in his book. I think it was, he says, Lord, remember me for what I have done. We see how Samson in the pit at the end of his life is crying out, God, do you remember me? Give me back my power just one more time. And then we see Hannah crying out, remember me. But for me, one of the greatest remember me's is the remember me of the thief upon the cross. And he said, Lord, will you remember me when you come into your kingdom? And Jesus would have smiled if he could through his pain. He would have said, young man, I will remember you and you're going to be the first one in heaven. Today, you'll be with me in paradise. Maybe, I don't know, maybe today, people, you've been crying that cry. You've been asking God for something out of the depth of your heart and you're saying the same thing. God, do you remember me? And I want to assure you today, God's never forgotten you. How could he? He's got you carved upon the palm of his hand. Your name is there. And you keep on praying. And I know sometimes these prayers are not answered in the format that we would like for them to be. But Hannah's was answered, Samson's was answered, Nehemiah's was answered. Maybe yours will be answered as you cry with all your heart for that which God can only give to you. Keep praying, keep trusting, and keep remembering that God will never ever forget you. And maybe, just maybe, God's will be what you're praying for. How awesome would it be this year if you found that God remembered you by answering the most heartfelt cry of your heart? Won't you think about that today? Even if you don't get what you're asking for, still okay. God never forgets you. He will remember you for eternity. Think about that today, guys. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.